Hello, UHL fans. We are back with another edition of Inside the UHL. This is a season finale edition and a playoff preview edition, so we hope you're ready for this. Before we get to anything new, late breaking news as posted on the UHL site. Immediately following Game 13, the season finale, the UHL Commissioner Hardacre has decided to suspend fifth place player Andrew Hardacre for the first playoff game. That's the top 8 versus bottom 8, one playoff game, for intentionally throwing the overtime and the outcome of the standings. A huge decision, a major decision that will affect the playoff game and could possibly affect both teams, top and bottom 8, in the next game. More to follow on that after we recap Game 13 and what a game it was. The most epic comeback in UHL history, I think, by far. We first got to give a bam to that team. I mean, everyone tried, not giving up. Down 3 goals with, I believe, 4 minutes left or 3:30 left in the third period. Doug McLean, Riley Bell, Greg McMillan, Scott Sim, Matt Gradinsky, everyone, even the players on the bench, Nak Him, stepped up and was able to close the lead from 3 to 2 to 1, and then they tied it with 1 second left on the clock. They tied it in an unbelievable goal, a shot that Doug tried to tip in the net, bounced off the board, and the boards were a major story in this game. Boy, oh boy, were they ever. And thus, a weird hop. I don't know. Greg McMillan may have got a touch on it. He claims he didn't, and I guess it just bounced off Ed and in. The net was moving everywhere. It was just a crazy play and an unbelievable ending and a great segue into the playoffs. Just an unbelievable game all around. And yeah, as we said, the boards were a big story. I mean, bouncy boards. I mean, UHL was not able to play in their usual Callian Mall location due to some, I guess, arena maintenance, we'll call it. So they had to switch locations, and these boards were really bouncy, causing a lot of goals, a lot of miscues everywhere. So yeah, it was just a great game. And then, as we mentioned, in overtime, Hardacre, basically the play is that Hardacre's the only one on defense. McMillan walks right up to him when Hardacre could have swatted the ball away. He just stood there. McMillan went around him, took the shot, and it got by Dodsworth, thus allowing that team to win, Greg McMillan to win the President's Trophy, and Riley Bell to move on to the top 8. A lot of discussion on Hardacre's motive, but in the end it's done, and he has been suspended 1 game. He came out with a statement immediately following that game and immediately following his suspension hearing. He said, quote unquote, "My actions tonight were completely disrespectful to my fellow players and the league. Although at the time I thought it would be the right thing to do, throwing the game was a bad choice that I regret and I am truly not proud of. I am truly sorry for those that are affected by this." And then he went on to saying that missing the first playoff game is terrible for me. It's missing the playoffs is terrible for me. I did not want this to happen, and I'm truly paying the price for something that I wish I could take back. So big decision there. So obviously when he gets up, it's time for him to step up. This game caused a lot of tension. I mean, that is something that, I mean, there's been a lot of things growing in the league, a lot of tensions, a lot of rivalries, but these rivalries grew this game, I think we can say. One rivalry that definitely grew was Greg McMillan and Nicholas Lai. At one point in the game, Nick Lai with, I guess, what some people are calling a questionable hit on Greg McMillan. McMillan didn't like it, took offense to it, continued to push Nick after the play. If we had refs, an interference call, definitely, but kept pushing him for a good couple of seconds. Nick was just tired of it, didn't want to take anymore, and shoved him back, and then that ended with both of the players walking away. So major tension there between those two. Another tension between Matt Gradinsky and Andrew Hardacre. As we said, Andrew Hardacre, he had a weird game. Really tensions everywhere. Slapshot, Gradinsky made the save, and mouthed something to Hardacre. Hardacre took offense to that, so then when he scored, he mouthed right back to Grudzinski, in which Grudzinski said after the game he wouldn't have mind fighting Hardacre. So that's interesting. But yeah, just a good game overall, and of course the Doug and Henry rivalry, which amounts to which goes all the way back since grade 11, was present again. Henry and Doug always on each other, so that was really interesting. But overall, a really good game and a great lead on into next year. And as we mentioned, our 2009 UHL President's Trophy winner is Greg McMillan. So congratulations to McMillan. A great season for him. Really good. He played consistently well and was always in top spot. I mean, he was always right there, and he definitely earned it. Good job for him. And the other thing that needed to be solved, well, once it was tied up, Grudzinski officially won and got the top 4 spot away from Hardacre. So Grudzinski will be in that 4th spot. So the top 8, if they do win, Grudzinski will be on the top 4. And then Riley Bell gets 8th spot over Greg Davio. And so this sets up an interesting game in the playoffs. You got on one team, you got on the bottom 8, Greg Davio, Scott Sim, and Doug McLean. Now there's going to have to be some decision on who plays goalie between Doug and Greg, is what everyone's assuming. Who knows, they could pull something out. And then they got Knack, who's always improving. Definitely improved last game. They got Henry on D. So, I mean, although last year it was a one-sided affair, it truly was, this time it may not be, especially with players from the bottom 8, like Ed and Winsfield jumping up into that top 8 spot, and Greg McMillan, who was like in 16th last year, is now all of a sudden first. So it will be an interesting game. As we mentioned, Greg McMillan winning, Kevin, Nick, Matt Grudzinski, Andrew Hardacre, but will not be there. Edward Dosberg, Winsfield Ling, and Riley Bell. So, you know, the decision has to be made who's going to play nets between Ed, Nick, and Matt. And then from there, the defensemen. And it is going to be an interesting game. It really will be. There will be no shortage of offense, as we have seen throughout the UHL. But a game that everyone is looking forward to. And then as we go on further from there, you know, everything works out great. I mean, if you're anybody in this league right now, you're sitting in good position to go on. I mean, you cannot really say that obviously the top 8 are favorites, but it is not a definite that they will win. So even bottom 8 guys like Scott Sim, Doug McLean, Greg Davio, and Henry Chen are looking at this and saying this is great because they still have a shot at winning this league. So the playoffs will continue. We will have an update on when that game will be. Hopefully tomorrow will be a decision for next game. But other than that, not much else from inside the UHL. Again, thank you to everyone for showing up to the UHL games. The season's over, but we still got 4 more great games to come. The top 8, the top 4, the top 2, and then the championship game. So please, everyone, keep following this because this is going to be a battle to the finish. Thank you to everyone for a great season, and we hope to make it an epic playoffs. This is from Inside the UHL. We'll see you at the playoffs.